Welcome back to Deadline DC with Brad Bannon. In this half hour, our guest is Tara Devlin, an old favorite of Deadline DC fans. She's not old, but
Well, old,
she's
I hear you. An old
no
favorite.
old's the wrong word.
You're
Uh, a,
fine.
a favorite of Deadline
And
DC with
also old. It's okay.
yeah, and also I'm old.
Old
No
enough
one
to
can.
know that
Yeah,
I'm 100% right with
yeah,
everything or correct, I
all
should say.
too
Okay.
well. But anyway, we're going to talk about several issues. But before we start with Tara Devlin from TARABUSTER, we are going to play this clip about Donald Trump's deployment of the National Guard in Washington, D.C.
It is very rich to say we are going to charge the sandwich thrower with a felony. When I was there on January 6th, and all of those people that assaulted police officers got pardoned, not just the nonviolent ones, not just the ones that went into the Capitol, everyone, including the ones that went after police officers, got pardoned. So don't tell me we care, that this administration cares about protecting police officers when they did not care about those on January 6th.
Respectfully, can we just stay?
But they got pardoned. No, those were police officers, Emily, and they got pardoned.
I want to talk about D.C. for a second.
But that was in D.C. That was in D.C. Those were D.C. police officers.
Can I just start with the fact checking on what you said?
Those were D.C. police officers.
So the top
that got
10
assaulted.
cities.
Yep, that's the tenor of life in America under Donald Trump. Our guest in this half hour is Tara Devlin, host of the TARABUSTER podcast. Tara, let me ask you, at this point, there are about 1,500 National Guardsmen from red states in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. I come from Ohio, South Carolina, West Virginia, and God knows where else, probably from Russia, too, for all I know.
Yeah.
When the president announced his deployment of the National Guard last week, he also said there are other cities, and my guess is your native New York City is probably one of them, where he also might
Oh,
bring
yeah.
in federal troops to law and order. And we'll first comment on this thing, then we can talk about the bigger picture, which is even more horrible.
Well, I think, as somebody who actually served in the National Guard, I find it incredibly offensive how he treats people who wear the uniform as his little playthings to move around on to distract for one thing, but to also flex his very tiny muscles, because this is the actions, of course, of of a wannabe dictator who never served anybody but himself in his entire life. And he's doing this to spread fear. That's what it's about. It's not about crime, of course, because DC has a lower crime rate. The top 10, I think, 8 of the top 10 cities in the country are in red states,
And besides that,
crime riddled cities. Yeah,
the crime rate went down in Washington, D.C.
exactly.
30% over the last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's blatant racism, of course. And honestly, I've been thinking about so many things about what's going on. We've never finished the work of Reconstruction, and this is what we get for it. We get this out of control conservative, really a minority death cult that is trying to destroy democracy. And that, I mean, name me one country where there are troops in the streets and you want to go visit that country. What great country has occupying troops in their own streets?
Well, apparently that's a good point, because I read a story in the Washington Post that tourism is down in Washington, D.C., and restaurants in D.C. have been emptying since
Yeah.
he announced the deployment.
Who wants to go to an occupied camp? Nobody. And as somebody who served, you're not trained for this. And he wants to get make the troops armed now, because usually you're not armed. Even when you're on a base, you're not armed. You're not walking around armed. It's like, yeah, it's tighter gun control than in these red states, that's for sure. So what are you supposed to do? Just, I guess, walk around and intimidate people, and that's the other thing that
Yeah,
is
I
an
think you caught it
offense.
there. That's exactly the purpose, is to
Yeah.
walk around and intimidate people.
It's offensive though, because we're not supposed to feel that way about people who serve and people who wear the uniform, and especially National Guardsmen and women, because they are us. These are citizen soldiers. These are people and they're being pulled from their own daily civilian lives to do this, so this unfit traitor can inflict his manias on them. I
Not
find
only
it,
that,
yeah,
but
it's just
they're also
disgraceful.
pulled away from potential emergencies
Yeah.
in their own state,
Things
like flooding
That's
or
right.
hurricanes or whatever
And
else.
and clearly, I mean, they're saying we're in a cold civil war. I mean, it's more than a cold civil war at this point. This is the conservative faction really at war with the United States. They're at war with the grand experiment in liberal democracy. That's what they hate. They never liked, even if we go back to the founding of the country, this is a progressive experiment. There's nothing more progressive than overthrowing a king and an aristocracy that ruled Western civilization for 2,000 years, right? So this is not conservatism. The conservatives were the loyalists pining for the king to trickle on them, right? So they don't like the e pluribus unum. I mean, that used to be our official national motto, out of many one. And they changed it to in God we trust, right? Many, so we wouldn't be like the godless communists.
Yeah,
But
they did that in the 1950s.
so yeah, and I mean, from everything from a nation of laws, a nation of immigrants, they hate the very idea of America, that we were founded as the antidote to intergenerational aristocracy, and the founders and all their flaws and
Yeah, that's a good
hypocrisies.
point
Yeah.
too, because I'd like to think the Bannon and Ryans, who came here to flee British oppression and famine in
Yeah.
Ireland, have made a significant contribution in the society, and we've completely, seemed to me, abandoned that.
Of course, because I mean, think about how much they must hate this country. It's like, how much do you hate yourself? We are a nation of immigrants. There's no getting around it. I mean, one of the charges against King George was that he was limiting immigration into the country. So we are, unless you're a Native American,
An
you come from
immigrant.
somewhere else. And that's one of the things that actually make America great. And even Ronald Reagan, we've been playing a lot of clips of Ronald Reagan talking about that, how America does have an advantage because we always stay young, we always stay vibrant, because we're always getting new people and new ideas coming here. And the people who actually immigrate from other places, these are the go-getters. These are the people that have initiative. Most people don't move. They don't even move outside their communities, a lot of people, for their entire lives. So we want people who want to contribute. And it's such missed opportunities too, because you don't treat people like crap. Like the people who come, I mean, nobody appreciates freedom or a welcoming nation more than someone who risks everything to obtain it, right? You come across 5,000-mile desert and you come to America, and imagine the different kind of attitude if you just treat people with decency. You're here, this is that shining city on a hill, right? We're
Speaking
all.
of decency, the
Hmm.
Trump administration has just announced it's cutting off visas for Gazans coming to the United States to flee
Wow.
the crisis
Well,
there, including children who come here to
well,
receive medical treatment.
they don't care about, I mean, if only they were the Christians they purport to be, really, the Christians or the patriots. They're neither. And it's about time that we just call them out. Stop playing nice, Democrats. And that's why the Gavin Newsom thing was such
Well,
a.
that's what I want to talk about
Mhm.
in the next segment.
Yeah, well, it fits into it, but we certainly have a lot of work to do, but yeah, uh, I don't know. Let's get to the next segment because I want to talk about
Yeah,
it. I'm just
speaking of the
kidding.
next segment, we're going to take a break soon to
Soon.
give our radio listeners a little vacation. But after that, we will continue with more Tara Devlin, who's the host of TARABUSTER. We got a couple things on the agenda when we
Yes.
return. We're going to talk about the efforts of Gavin Newsom, the California governor, to resist Trump. We're also going to talk about the mayoral campaign, which is running hot right now in New York City. So don't go anywhere. We're going to take this quick break, but we will return very soon with more of Deadline DC with Brad Bannon and Tara Devlin from TARABUSTER. Welcome back to Deadline DC with Brad Bannon. My guest in this segment is Tara Devlin, host of the TARABUSTER podcast. Tara,
Yes.
I'd like you to react to this, please. Um, I've been very discouraged lately, about the direction of this nation.
Yep.
And seems to get more and more depressing all the time, because Trump just keeps on going. I mean, it's one thing after another. The latest thing that really bothered me was this, what we talked about in the last segment, was the DC occupation, the federal occupation of Washington
Mm-hmm.
D.C. And what I find disconcerting is, if you look now at the national polls, on average, and there are some polls that show greater strength
Ugh.
and lesser Trump
Yeah.
speech, but right now, uh, Trump's average job rating across the national polls is 46% positive and 51%
Really?
negative.
That's
And
shocking.
that really bothers me,
Yeah.
because you would think, with everything that's happened in the 7 or 8
Yep.
months he's been president, 7 months, I guess, that it would be a lot lower than that. And I can't
Yeah.
believe that he has the support, still has the
Me
support
too.
of over, about roughly half of the
Right.
American public.
Right.
And my first question to you is, why is that?
Well, it's because of propaganda. That is, I've said this for years. Our two main problems in the country is propaganda. Well, first of all, it's money in politics, which gave us the propaganda. Without, Bill Clinton signed the Telecommunications Act of '96, deregulated the media. We went from over 50 companies owning different media, and also regulations on whether you can own a radio station, a TV station, a newspaper in the same market. And that was not allowed before the Telecommunications Act. That's why you can have Rupert Murdoch owning Fox News and the Post and radio stations. So you get nonstop misinformation. And the fact is that Fox News studies show make its viewers less informed than those who watch no news at all. And it's not just Fox News. Then you have the right wingers who are literally funded by the Kremlin, right? Which is a disgrace.
And outlets like Paramount and CBS, who
There
have
you go.
basically sold out to Trump.
Right, and are bending the knee to this unfit felon and this horrible fascist who is a dictator, who is implementing an authoritarian takeover of this country, and and shame on them. And I hope when we get this country back, I'm trying to be optimistic that there is a reckoning again on those who bent the knee, because they have no excuse. If you and I can continue to do what we do in our capacity, there's no excuse for Paramount and CBS and the rest of them to go along
Tara,
with
I'm going
this.
to have to interrupt you there. We got to take a break to bring back our radio listeners. More Deadline DC right after this very short break. Welcome back to Deadline DC with Brad Bannon. We're very happy to have our radio listeners back. And again, another reminder to our radio listeners that if you want to watch us as well as listen to us, you get to hear and see people like Tara Devlin. You can watch us at twitter.com uh, twitter.com/Brad Bannon, facebook.com/Deadline DC with Brad Bannon /videos, and youtube.com/at Deadline DC. Our guest in this half hour is Tara Devlin, the lively and vivacious host of the TARABUSTER
Thank you.
podcast. Let's talk about the resistance to
Yes.
Donald Trump. One of the things you wanted to talk about, and I'm glad you did, was the actions of California Governor
Right.
Gavin Newsom, who is seriously considering a presidential race in 2028.
I hope he
He's
does.
really jumped out in front, in the head of the line to carry the fight against Trump. Your impressions of Governor Newsom.
Well, watching him go back, use Trump's own words against him and his, the whole nuance of Trump and unapologetically push back is basically a breath of fresh air. That's for sure. And it feels like this is what we've been waiting for and trying to get Democrats to do, that he's modeling what it looks like to have a spine. And that's quite refreshing. But the more I think about what he's doing, and it's great that, he's dedicated to fighting fire with fire and encouraging other blue state governors who are in a blue state that has a blue legislature to redistrict their maps as well, which, because we have allowed them to take advantage for far too long. But this is what I'm thinking, because we've been so thirsty for this kind of at least pushback. I think that we're settling for too little. We don't need 5 seats. Why are we waiting for Republicans to cheat more to just nullify their cheating? What we need to do is it. California needs to redistrict, and they need to redistrict every goddamn seat blue. That's it. We've been under the tyranny of the minority for decades. And that is the truth. The Republicans have had far too much unmitigated power, and they are a minority. They represent fewer people. They receive fewer votes, except they still remain in the majority. There are more than a few election cycles, where the Democrats get over 1 million more votes and are still in the minority. Same thing with Trump. I mean, the first term, he received fewer votes, and hear me with this too, because he did not win the popular vote this time either. He received less than 50% of the vote. More people voted against him than voted for him. I know they keep saying, oh, I got the popular vote. He may have received more votes than Harris, but he did not win the popular vote. More people voted for Harris and a third party candidate than voted for him. So then you think about how they have rigged the Supreme Court illegitimately. And so everywhere we look, the Republicans have grabbed illegitimate power. And the Democrats have just gone along with it and trying to make, I guess, model good behavior for the Republicans and hope that they'll join in. Like that's what happened in California. They had these nonpartisan commissions drawing fair and equitable maps. Same thing in New York. This is what blue states do. But in red states, they know that they can't win without cheating and without kicking people off the voter rolls and gerrymandering their
Ending
maps.
mail-in.
Yes.
The president today called for an end to mail-in voting.
Well, Russia, what's his name? His Russian handler, Putin, told him, oh, it's so rigged. I mean, where the hell do we live? What and why is, and this is how the media has failed us too. This is what I'm talking about with propaganda. They're just reporting that as something normal. This is not normal. The only story is what the hell is wrong with people, and this guy a Russian asset? Like, could you imagine if this were a Democrat, if this were Joe Biden, of such a genuflecting to Vladimir Putin so disgracefully? And the whole thing is disgusting, of course, but then it's all to distract from the Epstein files. Let's not forget that. But, and it also feeds into what you're saying. Why are half of the people, if he has a high approval or 40 something % approval rating? It's
46 actually.
yeah, that's
46
46 too
positive,
much.
51 negative.
But that's because of propaganda, and this is also because the Democrats have won themselves or earned themselves a bad name. People think that they're weak. They don't, all they care about is genders, and that's what I hear from right wingers. That's my friend. She's staying here. She's just
Well,
walking
hi.
back and forth.
Okay. Well, let
Yeah.
me let's switch to another topic that I want to get to before we end the segment. There's a hot mayoral race going on in New York City. And you're coming to us from New York, and I'd like to get your impressions. Now, there are four candidates, I understand. There's the Democratic nominee, Stefan Mondani.
Mhm.
There's the former governor, Andrew Cuomo, who lost the Democratic primary.
Yeah.
There is the incumbent mayor, Eric Adams, who doesn't seem to be much of a player, and also a Republican, Curtis Silva. What's your take?
Sliwa, yeah.
Okay, see, so what's your take on the mayoral campaign, Tara?
Well, of course, I voted for Mondami in the primary, and Cuomo. This is what I'm talking about with Democrats. He needs to go away. Cuomo, the arrogance, and also the fact that the old guard of Democrats, my Senator Schumer and Kristen Gillibrand, and even Hakeem Jeffries,
Hakeem
yeah,
Jeffries, the House Minority Leader.
they've yet to congratulate Mondami or anything, bring him into the fold. They're, I guess, hoping for this sexual abuser. I mean, the serial sexual abuser, um, Cuomo, and I remember the Cuomo years because he's not exactly a Democrat either. That's what really concerns me. And as you see, when the Republicans, I mean, when the corporate Dems, they, I guess, want their own, because with Cuomo, he created this commission called the Independent, the Democratic, IDC, Independent Democratic Commission or Coalition. And it was filled up with Republicans. So he and the corporate Dems could block everything that the people wanted their representatives to do, their state representatives. So he was caucusing with Republicans throughout the history of his tenure in the governor's mansion. And he, of course, abused his power. And I guess what's really annoying too is that he thinks he's got a right. It's like his due. It's like Kavanaugh, banging the table and screaming revenge of the Clintons because I guess it was his birthright to sit on the Supreme Court. It feels like the same kind of attitude. This is it's my due, because
Let me ask you about this. The latest poll I saw in the race had Mandami up over Cuomo 45 to 29. Do you think Mandami, who's getting slugged by Cuomo right now, will hang on and
wait,
become the
say
next
that.
mayor?
Cuomo, I thought wait, say that again. Mandami is
45, Cuomo 29.
Oh, yes, that's what I thought. I thought you said it the other way. Yeah, I think that Cuomo needs to go away, but he's going to hurt Mondami. There's so many, if he would weaken the Democratic ticket if he insists on running as an independent, which, he should
Okay,
go pound
Tara, I'm
sand.
going to have to interrupt you again because we're running out of time.
What?
I want to thank our guest, Tara Devlin, the host of TARABUSTER podcast, for joining us today to talk about Trump excesses and Democratic reaction. I also want to thank our first guest, Robert Benson, talking about Ukraine from the center of American politics. And I also want to congratulate and thank our executive producer, Mark Grimaldi, for pulling together this show at a
Nice.
very short notice.
Thank
We'll
you.
be back with more of Deadline DC in future weeks. Until then, don't behave.